Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sabrina. Today's episode is based on the book Building Better Relationships, a guide to enhancing the customer experience for home builders, remodelers, and construction managers by Paul Schwinghammer.
Today's title is The Job is Not About You. Short, sharp, but man, there's a lot packed into that idea.
Yeah, it sounds almost obvious when you say it out loud, but in the thick of a project, it's so easy to forget. Paul really drives home how personal we make construction, even when it shouldn't be personal.
Right. So, let's dive in. Paul starts with a clear premise. In home building and project management, people too often tie their self-worth to the outcome of the work. When a delay or defect shows up, the instinct is to take it personally. They're criticizing me, instead of they're pointing out an issue with the work.
I've seen that on job sites, in the office. Someone points out a paint flaw and the contractor gets defensive immediately. And then the whole conversation derails.
Exactly. Paul calls that an emotional trap. If you make the project a measure of your identity, you react from ego. You justify, you explain, you push back, and the client leaves feeling unheard.
Which is the last thing you want. It escalates tension, damages trust, and honestly, wastes time. Paul says the criticism is never about you as a person. It's about the specific work. That shift of perspective is the key.
That perspective shift, separating yourself from the issue, sounds small, but it changes everything. Instead of hearing, "this trim is off," and thinking, "I failed," you hear, "this trim is off. How do we fix it?" The focus moves from identity to solution.
Paul gives practical strategies, and these are things you can start doing today. First up, active listening.
Listen fully. Don't interrupt. Write down the concern if you need to. I like how Paul frames it. Treat the issue like a technical problem, not a personal attack. When you write it down, it becomes something external, an item to address.
And follow that with acknowledgement. Say, "Thank you for pointing that out. I'll make sure to look into it." It's simple, but it disarms the situation. It tells the client you're taking them seriously.
Then move to solutions. Don't get stuck on blame. Paul suggests responses like, "Let's see how we can improve this corner detail," instead of, "It's not my fault." That redirects energy toward fixing the problem.
Also, pause. Paul emphasizes maintaining emotional composure. Take a breath. Step back if you need to. Emotions escalate very quickly in tight spaces and tight deadlines.
One thought I like. When you pause, you give yourself a second to translate the emotional reaction into a constructive response. It's like converting heat into movement instead of letting it burn everything down.
Nice metaphor. Another important point he makes in his book is that the client or team member might be bringing stress that has nothing to do with the project. Financial pressures, family stuff, deadlines at work. Their frustration may be spilling into the conversation.
Yeah. Recognizing external stressors helps you develop empathy. If someone is terse or abrupt, it might not be about the paint or the trim at all. Paul recommends seeing their frustration as data about their state, not as an attack on you.
Practically, what does that look like? You might say something like, "I can see you're frustrated. Let's walk through this and get it right." That both acknowledges emotion and refocuses on fixing the issue.
Totally. And when you handle criticism gracefully, when you focus on solutions, you're making what Paul calls deposits into the relationship account. Each calm, constructive interaction builds trust over time.
And the reverse is true too. Every defensive outburst is a withdrawal from that account. Small things add up, and clients remember how you made them feel, often more than the technical fix.
Which is crucial for repeat business and referrals. People talk about how they were treated. When you respond well to problems, you don't just fix a single issue, you reinforce your reputation.
Paul really emphasizes the long-term benefits: resilience, lower stress for you and your team, smoother problem-solving, and increased client loyalty. It's not just feel-good advice. It impacts the bottom line.
There's also a mental practice he suggests, actively reminding yourself that your worth isn't tied to every critique. It's a simple cognitive shift, but you need repetition to make it automatic.
Like a mantra, This is about the project, not me. Say it a few times in your head before you respond. It can keep you from reacting defensively.
And for leaders, project managers, supervisors, modeling that behavior is powerful. If your team sees you stay calm, acknowledge issues, and drive solutions, they'll emulate it. The job culture changes.
That's so important. The crew watches the foreman's reaction. If he gets defensive, the crew gets defensive, clients feel it. If he stays focused on the fix, the crew follows, and the client's trust grows.
Paul also points out that separating identity from work improves your mental health. Less rumination, less self-blame, more energy for problem solving. You sleep better. You show up clearer the next day.
And the more you practice it, the less ego-driven decisions become. You can make choices based on what's best for the project and the client, not on saving face.
There's a subtle leadership piece here too. When teams see members admitting mistakes and focusing on fixes, it creates psychological safety. People are more likely to raise problems early, before they become huge.
Which saves time and money. Catching issues early is always smarter. But that only happens if people feel safe to speak up, without fearing that their voice will trigger an emotional blow-up.
One practical routine Paul suggests is to establish a standard response flow for client concerns. Listen, document, acknowledge, propose solution, agree on next steps, follow up. That structure removes ambiguity and calms everyone.
That flow also creates accountability. When you document and agree on steps, it's clear who does what and by when. It's harder for things to slip through the cracks.
And this matters. A calm, structured response looks professional. It signals competence, even when the problem is yours. That perception matters to clients.
We've talked a lot about how to react when criticism comes. What about how to prevent it? Paul says clear communication up front helps. Set expectations, explain tolerances, talk through finishes. When clients know what to expect, fewer surprises show up as complaints.
Right? The job isn't about you, but you can control what you put into it. Clarity, communication, good process. Those preventive efforts reduce friction later.
And when stuff does come up, because it always will, the way you handle it defines the relationship. His point is steady. Handle feedback like a professional, not like a wounded ego.
Let me give a quick example. Imagine a homeowner points out a misaligned cabinet. Rather than snapping, "That's acceptable within tolerance," you could say, "Thanks for pointing that out. Let me measure it and get back to you with options." You've acknowledged, committed to checking, and set the tone for a fix.
And if it is within tolerance, still offer options. Adjust, cosmetic fix, or a documented explanation. Don't close the conversation with a defensive, "It's fine." That leaves the client feeling unheard.
Exactly. Validation is not admission of overblown guilt. It's a professional step toward resolution.
Before we wrap up this episode, one practical exercise Paul suggests to build this muscle. After every client interaction that felt tense, take 5 minutes to write down what happened, how you felt, and how you might respond differently next time. Reflection builds awareness.
Small, daily practice, and over time, you'll internalize the approach. Separate identity from issue. Listen, acknowledge, propose solution, follow up. That's the playbook.
Okay, final takeaway?
Don't make the job about you. The work is about the project, the detail, the solution. Keep them distinct and you'll protect your relationships and your peace of mind.
And remember, you can purchase your copy of the book, Building Better Relationships, a guide to enhancing the customer experience for home builders, remodelers, and construction managers by author Paul Schwinghammer on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in multiple formats.
Thanks for listening. If this episode helped, share it with someone on your team. Small habits change outcomes.
Next episode, we'll dig into another chapter, anticipating problems and setting expectations. Same practical focus, same conversational take. See you then.
Take care and keep building better relationships.